Defend yourself against DDoS attacks by hiding your true IP address with ExpressVPN, and visit my custom link expressvpn.com/ghilliemaster in the description to find out how you can get an extra 3 months free. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another GTA Online video here on the channel. Today is the big one, the in-depth guide of the Railgun. This has been one of the major talks of the town ever since it was found in the game files after the last DLC. I myself have even made videos about it in single player, trying it out and looking at the stats, but now it's officially out in online, and we can really analyze the weapon and determine how it's going to affect the game going forward, and also answer the question, is this the answer to jet griefing once and for all? Before I begin, I do want to give a big thank you to my friends Xenon and Endercrafter for helping me record and test for this video. And now to start out, I want to answer a question that I've been getting a lot, and that is how to remove the gifted railgun from the job so you can go and purchase the actual railgun at the gun van. And the reason you want to do this is 1, so it won't randomly disappear from your inventory, 2, so you can hide it from your weapon wheel using the gun locker, and 3, so you can buy ammo individually from the interaction menu instead of having to use the buy all option. To do this, it's very simple, although you do need one other person. Start up the Arena War job buzzer beater, and when you're in the game, just wait for it to say weapons enabled, and then leave the job through the phone. And if done correctly, you should no longer have that gifted railgun from the deathmatch in your weapon wheel, and you can now go and buy the official railgun from the gun van for around $600,000 this week. It's on sale for the release of the gun van, but the actual normal price is like $730,000. And if you're wondering where the gun van is today, I will have a link to a map in the description that you can use to help out with that. Getting into the stats here, the railgun has a damage value of 225, which is a little bit more than the explosive sniper, that has a damage value of 200, which you might not think is that big of a deal, like, oh, it's only 25 damage more, that doesn't really mean that much. And that's not exactly true, because the railgun will basically one-shot a player if they're either hit by the projectile itself or caught in the albeit very small blast radius of the shot. The reason I say basically is because the shot itself doesn't actually kill them, but it leaves them with virtually 0 health, so the fall damage from being ragdolled by the explosion kills them. The strange thing is, it doesn't happen all the time. It's kind of random when the fall decides to kill them, so sometimes if you shoot someone with the railgun, they'll survive, and other times they'll die from the fall damage, so it's mostly a one-shot, but sometimes they survive and it's a 2-shot. As compared to the explosive sniper, we all know that's always a 2-shot no matter what. If you want to mitigate railgun damage in ground combat, using BST will bring the railgun to a guaranteed 2-shot, and if you use BST combined with armor, that'll bring it up to a 3-shot kill in PvP. On foot though, don't expect many people to be using the railgun because it will not lock onto enemies even if you are in auto aim. This is disabled on the railgun. So you're going to get popped by someone with any other gun if you decide to try to use it, because if you even miss one shot, you're pretty much dead in auto aim. And it's likely that will happen given the other drawback that I'm about to showcase. However, you can smack people with the railgun at close range, so I suppose that is an option. The max range of the railgun is 500 meters, but it's very unlikely that you will hit a target from that far away without some god tier target leading, because one of the railgun's drawbacks is that it has a quite slow bullet velocity. It stands at a value of 750, which is less than half of what most other weapons are at 2000 and less than a fifth of what snipers are at 5000. The projectile takes just under a second to get to its target at max range. Using the game's expanded minimap, if you want to gauge if a target is in distance or not, look closely at the distance between my arrow and Ender's dot on the map. This is the max range the railgun can hit targets from, so you can use this in real time to see if a target is close enough to get hit by a railgun shot. Just from looking at the map, you can kind of eyeball it. It's not going to be exactly perfect every time, but it's a little way to kind of gauge the range. The railgun's real strength is its power against vehicles, especially unarmored vehicles and aircraft. Regular cars, just with 100% armor upgrades that normally would take you 3 explosive rounds from the heavy sniper, will go down in 1 blast from the railgun. So things like the Deluxo, the Scramjet, or any regular old car you can think of are prone to getting one-shotted. Which means if you're a fan of using the Deluxo or Scramjet in PvP, you're going to have to be a lot more careful now, because one mistake, or if you leave yourself too open to gunfire, you're dead. The same goes for jet pilots. You're going to have to be a lot more careful with how you fly, because the railgun will one-shot the laser and any aircraft that can't have its armor upgraded at the hangar, aside from a few exceptions. And it will 2-shot things like the Pyro, the Rogue, the Starling, whereas the explosive sniper would 2-tap the laser and 3-tap the Smuggler's Run planes. When it does come to jets and other planes, even though a one-shot to something like the laser sounds very overpowered, it's actually fairly tricky to hit a jet in a combat scenario. Jets are fast and can change directions in an instant, If you want to hit a jet, 1, you have to make sure you have a successful prediction on where they're going to fly, and 2, you have to lead the target accordingly, taking into account how far away they are from you and what direction they're traveling in. Which is not the easiest thing to do. Is it much easier than RPGing a jet? Yes, of course, but it's still not exactly a guaranteed kill every time you see a jet. I think the best time to take your shot is when a jet is exiting a strafe and is turning back around to go for another one, or when they're about to enter a strafe and you can aim directly at them without having to lead your target as much because they're flying right towards you. You really want to pay close attention to when a jet is turned on its side, because that's when you're going to have the most surface area to hit when the top is facing you, as compared to trying to hit a jet flying upright where it's like a super thin target to try to shoot. It's all about angles. But yeah, laser pilots are going to have to be more careful because there's no bailing out if you get hit like there is with the explosive sniper. If you get hit once, you're dead. That's the end of it. Now, if a jet stays very high in the air and just dive bombs you, it's going to be very difficult for you to even get a shot on the jet, so there's still that. And obviously, thermal vision with jets is still as busted as ever and will likely never get fixed. But your typical Joe Schmo brain-dead griefer is probably not going to be doing any of those two things. And if there happens to be more than one person nearby that have railguns, they're likely to get targeted by both of the individuals, in which case the jet can only focus on one and leaves himself open to get blasted by the other one. One strange exception to the one-shotting is the Hydra. For some reason, the Hydra is like super tanky to railgun shots. In this scenario, it took me 6 railgun shots to blow up the Hydra. It was out of commission by the 5th one, like on fire and everything, but it's still kind of impressive that it can tank that many. I think it usually takes like 3 shots from the railgun to blow up the Hydra, so perhaps more people will be using the Hydra after knowing this info. It's obviously a much bigger target and it's much less agile than the laser, so it's easier to hit, but it's still interesting to see that it can take more damage from the railgun. For helicopters, I honestly don't think much has changed in their meta. Helicopters have been at the bottom of the barrel for a while now in terms of how easy you can take them out, and so I don't think really anything has changed here. If you're in an unarmored helicopter like the Buzzard or Sparrow, 1 shot from the railgun will end you, but fortunately, and this is only the case for the Buzzard and Sparrow because of how they are designed, it's actually kind of hard to make contact with them if they are facing you. The Buzzard and Sparrow both have full-on glass on the front of the aircraft, and the railgun has interesting interactions with vehicle glass. If you shoot the windows of any vehicle, this includes ground vehicles too, it's just more noticeable on the Buzzard and Sparrow because they have a lot of glass on the front. It will act like any other bullet and nothing will happen. No explosion, nothing. In fact, it actually goes through the window, through the entire helicopter, and blows up on the other end with whatever it hits. So you have to make contact with something that isn't glass on the helicopter for the explosion to occur, which is why if you're facing someone on the ground with a railgun in a Buzzard or Sparrow, the only thing they should be able to see is the front, which can make it quite hard for them to hit you. However, if they hit the portion of glass where you're sitting in the cockpit, the shot will then hit you and blow up your helicopter. For bigger helicopters, they have gotten worse from the addition of the railgun. The Hunter and the Akula will both blow up in 6, just like in the single player test I did, so 1 less than the amount of E-rounds I can take. But because everyone is going to likely have the railgun and everyone has access to it, you'll probably run into a lot of people in free mode with it, unlike the explosive sniper where it was only some people that ran it. I know a lot of people are also wondering, is this a good counter to the Oppressor Mark II? And the simple answer is, not really, if the Oppressor knows at least a little bit of what they're doing. It's a tiny, fast-moving vehicle, and remember, you have to lead the target with the railgun. So with its very sudden movements, it makes it very, very hard to hit one that isn't moving directly towards you or stopped close to you. If it's flying around you, not facing you, it will be near impossible to hit it if they aren't flying in a direct straight line. Not saying it can't happen, but for fighting Mark IIs, you're much better off using armor-piercing rounds on the Marksman Rifle Mark II or musket with lock-on. If the railgun could lock on, perhaps it would be a different story, but it can't, so those are better options, I think, than using the railgun to try to hit Mark IIs. If you do manage to connect a shot to someone on the Mark II, though, it will instantly kill them, and if you hit the bike instead of the player, that's going to blow up instantly too. Another disadvantage of the railgun that helps out people in aircraft is the fact that the railgun has a very distinct tracer effect on it. You will see a bright white glow shooting past you in an aircraft if someone's firing it at you, and at nighttime it's even more noticeable because it glows this bright bluish color. And this can help you track down a player shooting the railgun at farther distances if you're looking out for it. If you see that tracer effect, you know what they're trying to shoot you with, which is nice. Something that can be considered OP is the fact that you can completely skip the reload with it by doing the quick reload trick by swapping to the sticky bomb and back after every shot to avoid the reload. So you can basically rapid fire spam it, and it's kind of nuts. For the final tests of this video, I wanted to test how it performs against armored vehicles. For armored vehicles, you can actually calculate how it's going to perform if you know how many RPGs a vehicle takes based on the damage values each weapon has in the game files. The RPG, for example, does 500 damage, the railgun does 225 damage, and the explosive sniper does 200 damage. In comparison, the RPG is doing 2.2 repeating more damage than the railgun, and 2.5 times more damage than the explosive sniper. So say we take something like the Night Shark. The Night Shark takes 9 RPGs to blow up, so if you multiply that number by 2.2 repeating, and round to the nearest whole number, we get 20 railgun shots, and that is exactly how many shots it takes to blow up the Night Shark. And you can apply the same logic to an Endercrafter vehicle. The Buffalo STX takes 4 RPGs, 9 railgun shots, and 10 explosive rounds, so the math checks out. A couple more examples. The Omnis EGT, the vehicle that has insane RPG resistance, taking 12 RPGs to blow up, takes 27 railgun shots and 30 explosive rounds. Again, the math checks out there. And you can use this calculation for most armored vehicles in the game if you so desire. Of course, there could be some outliers that don't follow that, but most will. One last tip I want to give about the railgun: when using it in first person, if you have to lead your shot a good bit, the railgun can actually make it hard for you to see the target because of the amount of screen space it takes up. It's kind of an awkward style of gun. It takes up a lot of space. If you have to lead a target to the left of them specifically, this can impact your aim. Oftentimes the railgun will block visibility to the target. In this case, it's best to just fully ADS so that the gun isn't blocking your view of whatever you're trying to shoot. That's just something that I noticed that I figured I'd let you guys know about. So that is going to wrap up my in-depth guide of the railgun in GTA Online. This is a weapon that's clear purpose is to take out aircraft or vehicles with weak armor, and that's really it. In any other scenario, there are much better tools for the job. Taking out Mark IIs, there's much better tools. On foot, it's not very good at all. And personally, I think they did a good job balancing it. Could they have gone a different way with the balance? Sure. For example, a charge mechanic could have been cool where you can charge the shot before firing to increase the velocity of it to make it a bit easier on farther away targets. But as it stands now, I'm perfectly fine with it. I'm sure a lot of jet griefers will be unhappy that this is now in the game, and anyone that's a fan of flying helicopters, but as I said earlier, helicopter combat has kind of been ruined since the introduction of the homing missile 8 years ago, so yeah, can you really get more dead when something is already dead? Is the railgun this overpowered monster of a weapon that's going to completely break the game and ruin everything? No. Unless you happen to hop on GTA Online for the sole purpose of killing everyone in your laser jet, then you might have a different opinion. I don't think it's truly going to be the end of jet griefing. I think it's still going to be something that happens. It's impossible to eliminate griefing without disabling PvP altogether, and I don't think they should do that. Because, in my opinion, PvP is part of the fun. However, I will say that the railgun does give you a much better chance at fighting back against some of these more spawn-trappy vehicles. That is, if you can hit your shots, because it does kind of have a skill gap to it. But let me know what you guys think about the railgun in the comments, and have you hit any cool shots with it? Comment down below. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, feel free to leave a like, as well as subscribe to my channel for more GTA Online content. I want to give a huge shout out to all my channel members for your support. If you'd like to become a member for some exclusive perks, you can either use the join button or the link that's down in the description. And as always, thanks for watching and have a great day. Oh, oh man, what a shot.